Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
She brings out a Ziploc bag and there's a frozen... there is a frozen lizard in the bag. No. I'm not kidding you. You can't write this.
Hi, this is Gary Jones, and you're listening to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
The podcast that makes Alexa and Siri wish they were smart enough to stop listening.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation and helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you will give Red Shirt crewman number 83. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and joins SG-1 on their mission to fight the Goa'ulds, that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back, and what's left of his Iris code.
Our guest today is probably most known to you for his work on Stargate, various forms of Stargate, as Walter Harriman, and the television shows and the movies and such. But he's also been part of other worlds that you might be interested in, such as Airwolf, which I thought was pretty cool. I used to watch that when I was a kid. G.I. Joe, Andromeda, Sliders, and trust me, there's more. There's a huge IMDb list for you to paw through. So it's our pleasure to introduce to Funny Science Fiction, Gary Jones. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good.
Great.
Very good, sir.
Fantastic to be here. And you were just mentioning was I on G.I. Joe? Was I?
It said as additional voices. I didn't take the time to look and see what it was.
It was a cartoon.
Yeah. The old animated series.
Right. Gotcha.
So,
okay. Yeah.
It's gotta be hard to keep track after a while.
He's like, wait a minute, when did they film me for G.I. Joe? I don't remember this.
Yeah, no idea.
G.I. Joe undercover. They were just stalking you.
Yeah.
I tend not to look at my IMDb, and I was talking to somebody the other day, I forget who it was, another writer maybe, or somebody, and they looked me up and they said, oh, I know what it was. It was a friend of mine who was getting into film producing, and I've known her for many, many years, but she doesn't know, she doesn't know my list of credits or whatever. And so she looked me up and she said, I can't believe how many credits you have. And I said, well, how many do I have? And she said, it's something like 77 show credits and film and show credits. And to be honest, I just didn't even realize that because I don't go back in and look. If I get a credit, it just gets added and then I move on. I'm like
Understood.
Shane. I'm like Shane. I move in, shoot up a town, get on my horse and leave.
Very good. Well, that's okay. That gives us a chance to look through your IMDb list and we get to go, ooh, he was in that. Ooh, he was in that. Which is pretty much what's happening to me when I was looking at some of your earlier credits from the early to mid 80s. And that's where I was like, oh, he was in Airwolf. I used to love that show.
Oh yeah. Airwolf was one of my first, that was the beginning of my computer, sort of geek roles where I just got, they put me in front of a monitor and I had to, that was beginning of how to learn computer acting, where
right.
You stare at a screen and make it look like you're reading something. And I just laughed because there's so many episodes, and I've seen this with other shows and other films. There's always a guy who sees a blip on the screen and his line is always this: sir, you might want to come and take a look at this. and then when the boss is headed over, the blip disappears always. And then when the boss gets there, he goes, okay, the boss is like, okay, what you got? And the guy looks at the screen, he goes, damn, it was here a minute ago. It's like so many shows have that. And I had to learn how to do that. And now when I see films where I see people, on their computers, I know exactly what they're doing. They're just nothing there. There is nothing on the screen.
Take a sip of your coffee and go, yeah, I know what line's coming next.
Line's coming next. Except with Stargate, they actually had they had built a program where when you saw the Stargate and the icons that would light up going around the gate, they built that program. But what's it's so funny. It looks so high tech, but there was literally this guy on a stool in like a broom closet, surrounded by monitors. And they would just say, okay, we need this on screen now. And then he would just like mess around and put it up on screen. It's hilarious. Like there were parts of there, with all the CGI on Stargate, there was parts that were like so high tech and looked like so like, wow, holy moly. And then there were other parts that were beyond low tech. And there was a period of time where I was just opening the gate through typing, like on my keyboard, like Control Alt Delete Open. I don't know what it was, but and so I had a bit of that going on. And then they handed me one day, I came into work and there was this little, of course on screen it doesn't look like this, but it's basically a wooden box with some pink plastic with the shape of a hand on it. And that was to essentially say that we've moved up now to the point where you just need to put your hand on this thing and it will light up and that will open the gate, right? So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And they said it's in the show, it's basically touch sensitive. So as soon as you touch it, it lights up. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, it turns out that for it to be lit up meant that there was a crew member lying on the floor by my feet under the desk with a toggle switch. And then you'd have like the second AD would be like, have like eyes on that person and the person would have the toggle switch ready. So the AD was watching my hand and this crew member. And as soon as my hand went on that thing, he just kind of pointed and the guy just hit the toggle switch and the thing lit up. And I was like, oh, this is so funny.
That's awesome.
It's so hilarious. It's like, how can we, we're not going to like sink unnecessary money into this like really cool hand touch sensitive piece of equipment. Let's just like, literally, I mean, they MacGyvered it, right? And which is ironic considering.
Right.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
You know what, Gary, one of the awesome story aside, and I do love that. That's awesome. Because now every time I see that, I'm going to think of the guy going, and you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
toggle. Yeah.
Finger guns. Go. Anyway, so one of the things I saw when I was doing research for our chat today was an interview you did back in 2005. And that hurt my brain because then it made me think that that's almost been 20 years already since
Stop that.
that exactly. No. But the interview was, of course, about Stargate. And I'm going to read you something that you said. And I thought this was a really nice quote. So I wanted to share it here. You said the following. You said that Stargate has been the best gig in my life. I cannot believe I've been on a show coming up on 9 years. It's hard to describe being on a show for that long, but you get to know some excellent people. I've made great friends and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So I'm wondering now, 20 years later, with other versions of Stargate under your belt, how has your view in the rear view of time about Stargate, has it changed at all? And if so, how?
No, it hasn't changed at all. It's probably gotten better because I guess if I was saying that was 9 years, then it had another season to go. And during that time, I was also in on some Stargate Atlantis episodes, which were really fun. And then I was in the first 2 episodes of Atlantis. Stargate Universe. So I was in all 3 franchises, and it just means that I guess they loved my character enough. Maybe the fans enjoyed my character enough that, I mean, the producers and the writers, they respond to who they like to see. And over the years, I've just gotten so much incredible feedback from fans, especially being at conventions and that they just go, man, we loved it when you were on screen. So I don't know how to account for that. I honestly don't. I don't know what was in the water I was drinking. I have no idea. All I know is that they, at some point, At some point, I thought, well, how am I gonna, like, because you can't, as my character, you can't walk into the gate room every day and look at the Stargate and go, oh my God, look at that. You just can't do that. You have to go, okay, this is where I work. So I began to, at some point, when they were giving me more and more, my character, more and more sort of responsibility, more lines, more interaction, I then just decided that I would treat the Stargate like I was a mechanic changing like an oil filter in a car, in a Ford Taurus. I just thought, oh, this is what I do. I can't talk about it to anybody. It's top secret, but it's like anybody going to work on an aircraft carrier or who's a fighter pilot, like that are pretty cool jobs. Obviously, they could talk more about their jobs than I could about mine, but I think it's the attitude towards the thing that actually made people then see me as more of an everyman. I was like a non-com the non-com officer, non-commissioned officer that they kept promoting and promoting and promoting. So I got to the highest rank that I could go by being a chief master sergeant. And I didn't even really know what that meant. Every time I would come back from a season, they go, "Oh, you got promoted," and I was like, "Why? What did I do?" And they said, "Oh, well, you just are. You got a promotion." And I thought, why was I like typing under duress, or filing under duress or typing under fire or something? No, they're not. No, you just got your promotion. So when I would then, as I would go to later conventions, guys, not just guys, people who would come to me who had that rank would say, "Hey, you're doing my job. That's my rank." And I was like, as soon as I found that out, I kept those people at my table and I just grilled them. I said, what's my dental plan, and how many holidays, how many weeks holiday do I get? And, what kind of, like, that kind of thing. And I just wanted to know what the deal was with going from a sergeant to a master sergeant to a chief master sergeant. And it was just, it's been just so interesting talking to all the fans, where they'll come on, so many ex-military, and they just say, "Hey, you really represented us well." And I didn't know that I was doing that. You can only get that feedback kind of like face to face at a sci-fi convention. Otherwise, you just go on screen, it gets beamed out to however many people see it, and you just don't know the kind of job you're doing. But the sci-fi fans on Stargate are very, very vocal, super supportive, and just great fans. So that's kind of how I got to sort of know a little bit about what I was doing and what I kind of brought to the role, if that answers any question in there.
It did. Thank you. That was a very good answer, actually. And I also, as you were saying, you're talking about getting, promoted, and you're like, why? What'd I do? And all of a sudden my brain goes to, you're getting promoted and you don't know why. And poor Harry Kim is still an ensign from Star Trek Voyager. He doesn't know why he can't get promoted. That's where my squirrel brain went. So it's just bing, and
See, my squirrel brain got caught on Stargate Atlanta instead of Atlantis and started combining Stargate and Walking Dead for a minute, and that got really confusing. Gary, we as nerds, we love a good backstory. Backstories are what nerds thrive in. So I'd like to get a little bit of your backstory.
Okay.
So what got you into acting to begin with?
I had no plans to become an actor. There was nothing in my past that would even suggest that I would become an actor. I went to school in Ontario for advertising and marketing, and I graduated and I got a job, and I was working in advertising as a creative director at a small agency with a buddy of mine. And one day I found an advertisement for improv comedy classes. And I talked a friend of mine into doing them with me. And then as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Didn't even know what it was, but I had this kind of like little inner voice telling me that I need to do this. So I just I listened to that voice and followed it. And then from there, I joined I took Second City Toronto, Second City workshops, improv workshops. Unbeknownst to me, that Second City, what they would do was they would bring people in for their classes, and then they would just keep an eye on them. And if anybody showed any kind of promise, then they would use them in the company. And so at some point, I got hired for the national touring company. They offered me a job, and we just went around and did shows where it was like the best of Second City theater sketches that had all been written by like Martin Short and John Candy and Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and Gilda Radner and all,
Nice.
Catherine O'Hara. They all started with Second City, either in Chicago or in Toronto. And so there was a collection of scenes that Second City could kind of put together and create a 90-minute show, and then you would do that show, and you would then do a half hour of improv after. And I was with the touring company for about 2 years, and really not making much money, and thinking, oh, I think I might quit this. I don't know, like, I needed to make a bit more money. So I went to the producer and I said, look, I'm thinking of leaving because nothing's really happening for me. And she said, oh, actually, this is good timing, because we are going to be sending a troupe of actors out to Vancouver to perform at Expo 86, the World Exposition. And we're setting up a show out there for the duration of the fair for 6 months. And we want you to be part of that troupe. And one of those people in the troupe was Ryan Stiles from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'd never met Ryan before. So I worked with Ryan for like 6 months. And after the fair was over and everybody kind of left, Ryan was still around in town. And he said to me, you should come and perform at Vancouver Theatre Sports. So I did that, and he opened the door for me. And then it was like on my own dime, that, on my own steam, that I had to stay there and be part of this collective group of improvisers. And I realized that the way that company was set up was that you had to be good, and you had to kind of get along with like a large stable of actors in order to get asked to play. So it was mostly out of survival and a need to make money that I thought, I got to get good really quickly here. And so I did have Ryan's blessing, but that only got me so far. And then I had to kind of work to make sure that I was, somebody that other players wanted to play with. And then somewhere in there, we did like Theatre Sports branched out and did its first semi-scripted, semi-improvised play. And it was called Star Trek the Musical. And oh my God, they just hit the mother load with that thing. And I played Captain Kirk in that. And Dean Haglund from the X-Files, who played Langley in the X-Files, was one of my best friends. He was in the troupe too, and he played Spock. It was just, and Ian Boothby, who is also has written for the Simpsons comics and Futurama, and he's really quite well known. He played Scotty. And so there were these people that were kind of like on the precipice of going on to do other things that we got to play with. And that was like a 2-year run, and it sold out every night in this little 150 seat theater, and it just killed. And we got to kind of improvise, use audience members, go down at intermission and write jokes that had to be used in the second half. So it was like a really amazing training ground to be part of that show. And I still, to this day, get people who went to that show, went back like numerous times, saw me in that show, and then bump into me on the street and go, weren't you in Star Trek? And I go, yeah. And they go, oh my God. And they talk about what a great time they had. So, fantastic to be a part of something like that. And then from there, discovering that when you're improvising on your feet, you're basically writing on stage in the moment. You're becoming a writer, even though you're becoming a writer who's performing his own material in the moment. But what I didn't realize what was happening was that I was forging really good collaborative writing partnerships with other improvisers, and I went on to write plays with them, and do tons of things with many of the improvisers. So I work really well with people who are good improvisers, because I mean, I put my 10,000 hours in during my time with Vancouver Theatre Sports, and I sort of got to the point where I was like really like I was good at it, and
Nice.
and I played at a certain level, and I played with people who were at a certain level, and there's nothing quite like doing that when you're not struggling to create a scene. You just walk in and everybody knows what they're doing, and you get to know everybody's sort of timing and sense of humor. And so like in terms of my backstory, that's how I ended up staying in Vancouver, but also not just the work, but forging really great relationships and friendships that have endured to this day. And so, I mean, it's not listed in my IMDb, but there is a list of, I've written plays, I've co-written plays, I've written scripts, I've co-written scripts. One of the guy who played the part of Bones in the Star Trek show, Sean McDonald, really great friend of mine. We've been friends for like 36 years still. And back in the day, we just for a lark, we wrote a fringe play, like a one-act fringe play, and brought in two other members of the theater sports sort of stable. And that play ended up gets into the fringe, sells out, gets into the pick of the fringe, sells out. And then one of the artistic director of a local, very, very successful local theater in a commercial theater down here in town, came and saw it, and he said, well, this is really, really funny, it's great, the only problem is it's a one act, and if I were to consider putting this in my theater, it would have to be a 2-act because I need to sell liquor at the intermission. So do you think you guys can turn this into a 2-act? And he said, yeah, for sure. Because with improv, you say yes, and that's the main thing. You never say no. You go, yeah, and it'll be yes, and it'll be even funnier. And it was. We actually took a play like a successful 1-act and made it into an even funnier 2-act. And so he mounts it at his theater, the Arts Club theater on Granville Island here, and then it gets held over because it's like it's just killing, and it ends up winning the Jessie Award, which is like the local Vancouver Theatre Award for best play of 1994.
That's awesome.
And so it's things like that, that I've been really, really fortunate. I mean, you don't write a play saying, hey, let's write an award-winning play as a right. But you do it for the laughs. And all we could do was try to make each other laugh. I was like, if I'm making him laugh, chances are the audience is going to laugh. And if he makes me laugh, chances are the audience is going to laugh. So that's all we had to go by. But it was the most fantastic experience. I've had loads of those experiences. So I know a ton of people in town now. I've worked with lots of them. And so that's kind of my backstory.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Second City is a really cool credit to have too. I mean, there's a lot of people who have gone big places after being associated with Second City.
Yeah.
That's really fun. And it's fun what improv can get you into and what it prepares you for.
Well, one of the things that I found out years later, told to me by the artistic director of theater sports at the time, he said that when I showed up, and I didn't realize how sort of like over the years, over the time I'd been with Second City, that I'd been sort of indoctrinated by their form of improv, because they would always improvise with the intent of creating improv scenes that would become sketches, like, theater sketches, right? And so I just thought that way. Like, that's how my brain kind of worked. Whereas when I showed up, theater sports at the time was more kind of game oriented. They would play like theater games and they would compete against each other, but it was very gamey. Whereas I wasn't so much, I was more like, well, let's just go in and do an open scene and see where it goes and not attach any kind of, gimmick to it, like a game or a handle or kind of thing. And he said that they slowly began to go in that direction because they just found that the audience really responded to it. And from that, we did more shows that were semi-scripted shows where you could kind of improvise within a structure. So, I that was pretty cool to find out that years later that my performing had some kind of impact on the actual style of the scenes that they did. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's
It is
nice.
cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So as Kathleen mentioned, we love stories. And some of the stories that we don't usually get to hear a lot about is stuff behind the scenes. So what was one of your favorite behind the scene moments in any of the things you've done?
Oh God, there's so many of them. Do you remember the episode where I had to, like, Walter had to drive an Alcash, like one of those giant alien spaceships?
Yeah.
Right. Well, they put me, I was in the episode and they were saying, okay, so Walter drives this Alcash. So when I get in the seat, I turn to Andy Makita, the director, and I go, hey, Andy, well, like, wait a minute, like, how do I even know how to drive this thing? How do I know how to fly this thing? Fly it. And he goes, oh, you just do. And I go, oh, okay. So I had to just and I had to just pretend that, I kind of knew what the hell I was doing, flying this alien spaceship. Like, things like that would kill me. There was one where, I was standing in the hallway in between takes talking to somebody, and you know what the hallways look like. They're just like underground concrete and metal, bunker kind of type thing. And I just reached up and I put my hand on something and I just accidentally tore off like a styrofoam bolt like that big. It was like huge. And it just came off in my hand. I was like, what? Oh, I had no idea, because it looked so real and it was just styrofoam. So I had to go to somebody and say, sorry, I
Broke the set.
bolt off the wall. They're like,
Whoopsies.
and they just glue gunned it back on. They just stuck it back on.
Nice.
Another one was, this is one of my favorites, was I got to set, and it was like, this was later in the series, like season 8 or 9, when Richard Dean was the general and working on, like running the place. And so he, I was supposed to do a walk and talk with him, which is basically he gets off the elevator and then I meet him at the elevator and I give him the update on all the different SG teams. And, being fans of Stargate, you would know that the planets are like PX3, 941, and, P37, 428, whatever. And when I looked through the script, I missed this page. I somehow missed the page where I had like this chunk of dialogue where I would just talk and just like do a walk and talk and tell him what these things were. And it was only just before the scene started, where I got my sides, that I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And they said, well, that's your dialogue. I was like, oh my God. So I had to learn it, right? So then I thought, well, okay, this is just such like techno jargon. I'm not going to learn the planets. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fake the planet. I'm just going to make the planets up. I'll do all the rest of my dialogue, but I'll make the rest of it up. And of course, Richard Dean's just talking to me. He's not even paying attention. He's like, whatever, right? And we do the walk and talk to find out where we end up, where we land, and see how long that takes. And we're blocking it and shooting it, blocking it and rehearsing it. And we do it a bunch of times. And each time I just come up with these planet names that, don't exist. And just before we shoot, the script supervisor comes up to me and she goes, Gary, are you aware that that each time we've rehearsed, you've set a different, you've put in different numbers for the planets? And I go, oh yeah, no, I know. I go, yeah. Kind of like, she goes, well, yeah, but you have to say that, you have to say the correct names. And I go, I do? Why? And she goes, because we go there. Oh, and I said, oh, so you're actually going to these planets? Like, I thought it was just like random update of like, guess where SG5 is and guess where SG3 is. They just got back from this planet. The other ones are going to this planet. And that there was never going to be an episode about that. So I thought, oh, who cares? And she goes, no, we go there. You have to say them properly. So I was sweating bullets and I somehow managed to pull it off, but I can't even imagine what that sounded like. It looked like Richard Dean Anderson didn't pay any attention. Like it made no difference to him, but I was freaking out at not possibly getting these planets right. It was so lazy of me. And another time I showed up and I read the script, and a lot of times I would just read through the script quickly, see the scenes that I'm in and go, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Right. And I get into the makeup chair and the makeup person says to me, so how do you feel about dying in this episode? And I was like, what? They said, well, you die in this episode. And I thought that Stargate was killing me off and that I'd missed that. Like I didn't know. And nobody had said anything to me. And Martin Wood was directing that. And as soon as I got out of my chair, I just ran to my trailer and got my script and was reading through it. And I saw where I was like killed. And I was like, what? And then again, because I read it so fast, I still it didn't sink in. And I happened to see Martin Wood walking by my trailer. And I said, Martin, what the hell? I died today? And he goes, yeah, you're trapped in an alternate universe video game and you die in that. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, bonehead,
Those are great behind the scenes stories. Thank you, Gary. All right. So we are at a point in our show where we like to take our guests through a little bit of a quiz. And this is a quiz about all things Gary Jones. We call it Jonesy at the Gates. It's 4 questions. Now, if you get three out of the 4 questions correct, we want to be able to send you this book, which is called Custodians of the Cosmos. It's written by the founder of our Facebook group, Drayton Allen. It's all about a young man who wanted to join something quite like the Starfleet Federation, but not like the Starfleet Federation for litigation purposes. And he washed out and rejoined as a custodian to boldly clean up after those who boldly just went. All right. If you get less than 3 questions correct, with 3 out of 4 gets you the book. If you get less than 3 questions correct, we want to take a picture of you, make a meme out of you, and put you into our 200,000 member Facebook group.
Okay.
We call it the fun sequence. Now,
there's no way I'm going to get. I don't even know what the questions are, but I'm going to fail so badly.
You'll be in a very tasteful meme. You won't have to worry about that.
He'll just make it up like he did the planets. So
that'll be great. But all 4 questions are multiple choice. Okay. So that'll help you a little bit.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead, guys.
You have appeared in 3 different series with this actor: Amanda Tapping, Dan Shea, or Garwin Sanford.
What's the? Oh, I see. In all 3. So I have to choose from one of those, right?
Yes.
Which one is the actor that you were in 3 different series with?
3 different series. Oh God. I don't think it's Dan Shea. and I know I was in Stargate with Amanda and also Sanctuary, but I can't think of another show that I was in with her. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to say Garwin.
You are correct.
Correct.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So according to the great and all-knowing IMDb, which is sometimes wrong, it was Sliders, SG-1, and Atlantis, or the newly rebooted Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
All right. Question number 2. Along with this actor, you appeared in all seasons of SG-1 and Atlantis. Was that Dan Shea, Amanda Tapping, or Richard Dean Anderson?
Say that again.
The whole thing or just the options?
Yeah, I gotta get that question right.
Okay, so you and this other actor appeared in all seasons of SG-1 and Atlantis. Was that Dan Shea, Amanda Tapping, or Richard Dean Anderson?
Me and this actor appeared in all 3 franchises of
no, in all seasons of SG-1 and Atlantis.
And Atlantis.
Right. So not necessarily every episode, but in all seasons.
I think I'm going to have to say Amanda Tapping.
That is correct.
Very good. I was about to start tapping on this. I was going to give you a hint. All right. So you're 2 for 2.
Oh my God. This is where I'm going to fail.
Alongside Amanda Tapping and Martin
how many
Christopher.
times can I hear Amanda Tapping's name? Is this the Amanda Tapping interview? What?
Well, just the questions.
It's like Beetlejuice. If we say it enough times, she'll come to our show.
You were one of 3 actors to appear in the series finale of these 2 series.
You can't even read the question. You don't even know what you're reading. You don't even understand the question.
Tim wrote these.
I wrote them.
Just so you know, Tim, only 2 of those are a series. One of them was a movie.
I know. This is what we call a softball.
Oh, okay. Atlantis, SG-1, or Continuum? We're looking for 2 answers here.
2 answers?
Yeah, where you appeared.
So you, Amanda Tapping, and Martin Christopher were the only actors to appear in the series finale of what 2 series? Was it Atlantis, SG-1, or Continuum? And you picked 2 of them. And considering that Nick's already told us that one of them was a movie, and we all knew that.
Wasn't Continuum a film?
Yes.
That's not I guess it would have to be the other 2 then, the SG-1 and Atlantis.
Very good.
Correct.
3 for 3. My softball works. You get the book. See?
Oh my God, I got a book coming.
All right. Question number 4, which is just for funsies and has apparently made my camera no longer want to focus on me. That's fun. Here we go. There it's back. According to IMDb, you appeared in how many episodes of Stargate 1 of SG-1? 57, 187, or 111?
I'm gonna 57, 187, or 111.
Correct.
Of Stargate SG-1.
Yes, just SG-1.
Okay, I'm gonna say 111.
That is correct, and you have destroyed Tim's quiz.
Woohoo! 4 for 4. Well done, sir.
Wow.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're working on?
Oh, hey, here's something that I'm doing that they might enjoy. Myself and 3 other guys, Ken Lawson, who is an incredible improviser and a guitar player. We do a mock interview show that you can see on YouTube. It's called Forgotten Masters, and it's a guitar interview show where Ken plays all the guitarists and plays their different styles. We've just gotten going. We have 3 up on YouTube, and at the end of May we're about to shoot another 3. But those are pretty funny that you can go to. And I play this British musicologist interviewer, and I'm almost unrecognizable from my Stargate days. I've got a beard and I've got a really ratty bad wig. And,
Nice.
and the interviews are about 15 or so minutes long, and Ken plays guitar, and they're funny. They're very, in the spirit of Spinal Tap. They're sort of serious, but like you watch them and you go,
Nice.
oh, well, like, it's all rooted in reality, but we're improvising.
Mhm.
So I would say go to Forgotten Masters, get fans to like us, like as many as you can of it, because that puts eyes on us,
Absolutely.
and then watch for them in the future, because we'll be doing more at the end of we've got a place booked to record 3 more on May 29th. So I'm doing that, and the rest of the time I'm just writing shows, and I work on a show up in Canada, a radio show called The Debaters. I write for that show. It's a very, very funny show, and if you wanted to, just go to cbc.ca. Go online and then find The Debaters, the live streaming, and they've got them all listed there. And essentially, it's a half an hour show that is featuring 2 debates, each one 15 minutes long, and all the debates are debated by comedians, stand-up.
Oh,
comedians.
nice.
It's very, very funny, and it was created by my current writing partner, Richard Side. And he and I are already, we're work on a sitcom and a Christmas movie. We write all the time, so we've done many shows together. He and I. He's another guy who came out of theater sports that I've done so many shows with. And yeah. So those are the kinds of things that I haven't been doing much acting lately. I've been doing a lot more writing, but since COVID's sort of like lifting a little bit, things are coming back on, with people being in large gatherings, and I'm going to be hosting the next Creation Chicago Stargate convention in June, on June the 10th to the 11th this year. So
Awesome.
Amanda is going to be at that, and so will Michael Shanks and a bunch of other people. But I'm the weekend host of that. I can't wait to be back in Chicago. So if people are thinking of going to that, it's happening. I'll be there. Come to my table. Come and chat. That would be great to start reconnecting with fans, because this would be the first convention back since COVID. So I'm
awesome.
looking forward to it. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for a lovely interview, and that was really fun and nice to get to know you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Really great to meet all of you, and enjoy the rest of your day, and have a great weekend, people.
All right, take care.
All right, Gary, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. All right, we just want to remind everybody that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to help us and ensure that we get more amazing guests like Gary Jones here today, and funny moments for you to be able to listen to. So please subscribe. It helps more than really we can describe. And be sure to check out Gary's work here on YouTube as well, with the Forgotten Masters and the other things that he's doing. So check out Gary, everything he's doing. But if for some reason you are not happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department. That, of course, is Chief Master Sergeant Norman Walter Davis Harriman, the trusted and loyal officer of the SGC. Without him, the SGC just wouldn't run as smoothly. So please submit 2 copies of your complaint, one to be kept on file at the SGC and the other to be sent through the wormhole to alert SG1 of our offense. They will be sure to turn us over to the Jaffa to be fitted for our very own Goa'uld. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for watching Funny Science Fiction Podcast. Bye.
And speaking of sponsors and show partners, check out this short video from our good friends over at Level Up Lightsabers. information about Level Up Lightsabers and their online training sessions can be found in the episode description below.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF podcast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSFpopcast, or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the contact link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.